to CSC Gurukul lecture in continuation with the series on sociology of work. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss on post-industrial society. In the first half of the lecture, we try to understand what is the post-industrial society thesis, what are the structural dimension of society we are trying to understand, and also the 5 salient feature in terms of shift from manufacturing to service economy, the preeminence of professional and technical knowledge, the acquiring of theoretical knowledge over empirical knowledge, technology for planning, and also the emergence of intellectual property. In this half of the lecture, we are going to try to understand what are the understanding of post-industrial society. Does it help us to create an image of a new society, or is it as positive as it has been argued? So, overall we are going to reassess the post-industrial society and also try to understand some of the more common related terms along with post-industrial society. So, the idea, Daniel Bell's idea, just to kind of recap, this idea of post-industrial society was populated by Daniel Bell in his work, The Coming of Post-Industrial Society, and his idea of pure society is different from Alan Turing, what Alan Turing depicted in programmed society. So, programmed society would be kind of more organized, more regulated, where Daniel Bell was focusing on technology, how technology was bringing about change. So, Alan Turing kind of centered his attention on alienation. So, he was kind of more close to Marx, where Marx also talks that factory production led to a amount of alienation among the working class, and Turing says that this alienation is the result of technology. We are kind of so over used, or rather the technology starts in controlling our life, that we kind of get alienated from ourselves, from our surrounding, from the place we work. Daniel Bell is completely different. He professed to believe that a pluralistic society would emerge. So, he was in kind of supportive of industrial pluralism, where he felt that all society would kind of converge to some amount of uniformity. And for what, where did he locate this unifying force? It was the technology which could lead to the unifying force. So, when we look into the relation between technology and social change, we see that Daniel Bell's theory of post-industrial society is very technologist, and he says in his work, Techne, T-E-C-H-N-E, 2 is a form of art that bridges culture and social structure, and in this process reshapes both. So, this line of Daniel Bell kind of emphasis on how he considered technology as kind of having a very strong influence on society and culture. So, his theory is basically an American perspective, because he was looking into the large scale transformation that was happening in the industrial society, a society that had already undergone industrialization, and he was kind of aware of the development which was taking mostly in the developed countries, which could be the capitalist or other forms of society. So, on what kind of understanding he does evolutionary thesis, and we can kind of look into the difference which has been highlighted in the work. So, we look into the evolution from pre-industrial, industrial to post-industry, and we look into the sectors or some of the dimension. So, economy, occupation, workplace, and modes of production. When we look into economy, we see that in pre-industrial societies it was predominantly agriculture, and in industrial society it becomes manufacturing. Post-industrial society is a service society. Occupation, we see in pre-industrial there was no requirement of some specific skill. You did not require any kind of professional training. So, you were working on the field, you were learning it through growing up through all. So, in the category of the post-industrial society, they would then be considered as unskilled. Industrial society, technology comes in, lot of machines starts being operated. So, individual as workers had to learn these skills. So, it becomes kind of semi-skilled. Now, when we move to post-industrial society, the post-industrial society is entirely based on the use of technology. Even technology has kind of evolved, it has become more progressive. So, then the only way to be a part of the workforce is to acquire skill. So, the nature of occupation would be skilled workforce. When we look in the place of work or workplace, pre-industrial society, it was more in terms of agricultural labor, because agriculture was the main occupation. Industrial, much of the work was being done in the factory, so it was a dominance of blue collar. And in post-industrial, because it's a service economy, with the tertiary economy becomes dominant, the majority of the workers are white collar. Mode of production, agriculture took place in land. Industry, it was kind of more between the man and machine relation. Post-industrial society, the mode of production is knowledge. The more knowledgeable you are in this society, the higher the stratification ladder one is, and therefore we'll see in the later part of the lecture how different terms, and one of the term is knowledge economy or knowledge society. These are all referred to, say, societies where 3-4 decades or even more of the experience of industrialization has taken place. So, when we look into the thesis of post-industrial society, we try to understand what is its significance. The first is that it strengthened the role of services and technology. So, technology and service sector is considered as most valuable institution, as kind of leading to a progressive society. Decisions which are taken becomes technical. So, the scientist becomes a part of the economy and political process. So, even if we look into, say, any kind of government, we have scientists as experts who are going to give their opinion in the decision making or policy formation. New modes of attaining interaction, or new modes of interaction between human beings. So, we have bureaucracy. Earlier we had the family and the community as modes of interaction. Now, we have more formal structures like the bureaucracy, the government, where interaction takes place. Next, complex relation between technical intelligentsia and literally intellectual. So, we now have different kinds of elite or different kinds of class in this kind of society. So, you have one which is the intellectual elite, who kind of have a very theoretical knowledge of particular technology, whereas on the other side we have people in the university, academicians, scholars. So, there is a very complex relation between the two. Next, significance of post-industrial society is that the new kind of society raises question of distribution of wealth, power and status. And what are the major source of stratification in a post-industrial society? It is property and knowledge. So, property is kind of always since industrial society was required, because it is a mode of production, it is an asset of capital. Now, along with that, knowledge becomes this. So, if you have kind of more knowledge compared to the other, then your position on the ladder or the stratification becomes higher. But both property and knowledge are regulated by the political system. So, political system will manage too, and this because of the political management, this position or the elite becomes temporary, because we know that many a time with the change of the government, there becomes a change in the economy and other aspects. So, it becomes temporary and not fixed. Now, how was Daniel Bell's thesis of post-industrial society received? So, one is that there was lot number of kind of critical appraisal of Daniel Bell's theory, and in the sense, in the way that he kind of was very positive, and he was looking into in terms of a very universalistic, uniform or a pluralistic modes of industrialization, which in reality was not actually taking place, because he was also focused only on the industrial society. So, the first reception is to look into the main idea that has been forwarded by Daniel Bell, and that was the decline of the manufacturing industry. So, the post-industrial thesis would argue that with coming of the growth of technology, basic industry would kind of decline, but on the contrary, we see that they have increased in terms of contribution to the economy. According to Peter Drucker, the low wage countries have the advantage. Then second idea is to growth of high technology. That is, we know that in post-industrial society, the focus was on computer, telecommunication, manufacturing of heavy equipment, industrial robot, biological engineering. So, these have gone, technology has gone, become progressed or has become more kind of more skilled, is only a kind of a progress from the earlier forms of technology. Industries are information centric. This is another kind of a way in which we see Daniel Bell's theory. Information centric means the sense most industry which are of significant in post industrial society are R&D, research and design, scientific knowledge, etc. And when we look into the US economy, we see it was moving towards it, but then it has its own kind of limitations and drawbacks. So, we look into his reception in response to Daniel Bell thesis. Robert Reich, in his book The Next American Frontier, suggests that if US government did not support science and technology based services, change in the economy would be slow and painful. So, it was because that they wanted this change to be very fast and they wanted to kind of prosperous, ever progressive society. It was a kind of a government policy to give aid to technological and innovation industry. So, adaptive government policies lead to economic growth, but this is very specific to the case of US. Now, when we do a reassessment of Daniel Bell's theory, we see that most of the data from non-Western society suggests the contrary. It does not kind of say the same thing or does not kind of supports Daniel Bell's argument. And that one of the most important data which makes us very clear about the critical aspect of his theory is about the basic industry. Basic industry kind of will remain important. It will not give way to the manufacturing and service sector. It is not that it will kind of completely disappear. So, when we look into the data from non-Western countries, it suggests that there is a relative decline in the share of jobs in manufacturing sector. There is a dichotomy, this dichotomy between basic good, basic manufacturing as industrial, service as post-industrial is problematic. And therefore, even in the societies in post-industrial society, we see there are industries which are basic, because these manufacturing or the basic industry has to kind of be required in any society, because they are obviously kind of manufacturing or production basic necessity. So, it will continue to provide employment. It will continue to be the largest employer of the people, though in kind of the idea that service economy employment has increased is to kind of map it with the earlier phase where there was no service sector. So, the data would suggest that they has increased, but when we kind of look in comparison to the basic industry continues to provide the most of the job. So, the post industrial thesis predicted proportional increase of service industry. However, new industry provide lesser jobs compared to the old manufacturing industry. So, this is another way of looking critically at Daniel Bell's theory, that the service sector is kind of a new sector. So, initially when the any industry is being opened up, the number of employment will be comparatively less, whereas these manufacturing industries are very old. So, it will continue to be the kind of most provider of employment. The next is role of high technology in growth problematic due to lack of clarity in defining what kind of jobs are correct. So, the post industrial theory gives us a very blank statement that there is an increase in technological job, but then if we look into the technical job, there is a further segmentation which is required. So, we have research and design, scientist and engineer, and we also have skilled laborers or maybe semi-skilled laborers. So, we see that what has increased are not necessarily those who are kind of very skilled people in terms of research and design, but the largest amount of increase is in the skilled laborers. So, that is all is important to kind of understand the fragmentation. The next is in the basic industry, the share of total number of job is declining. So, relative to computer and services still are producing a great numbers of new job. So, when it's saying that it is moving towards technology and services. So, these services and technology would also be used by the manufacturing unit or the basic industry. So, the basic industry then becomes a provider or to the service sector. High-tech occupation, we need to kind of separate two kinds of idea which has been lumped together in post-industrial thesis. Number one, growth of high-tech occupation with growth of high-tech industry. This high-tech industry did increase because of the growth of technology, but employment of high-tech specialist, skilled person has not kind of drastically increased as much as has increased at the lower level. So, we need to keep that distinction in mind. High-tech industries will be mainstay of economy. Even this kind of fails in most of the non-Western countries to predict or to even look into that it would be dominated by high-tech industry, because a lot of cultural change has to take place to adopt that technology. So, without a change in the social cultural status, it would be difficult to predict that it will become a high-tech society. The next reassessment is that basic assumption of post-industrial thesis are ideal, and I started by saying that we need not look into these characteristics as being found in any particular society. What we need to keep in mind is that Daniel Bell was just forecasting. He was just kind of imagining a society that would kind of emerge. So, the thesis itself is very ideal, it is only theoretical and very difficult to found it in empirical. Even in the industrialized, in the completely developed industrialized society, all the dimensions of post-industrial society are not found. So, we need to kind of make a distinction between high-tech and low-tech basic industries, and high-tech industry comes closer to the basic industry, and they cannot be considered as separated. We also need to keep in mind when we look into the post-industrial society the policy issues. So, we need to evaluate change from policy and value judgment. When we look into the policy perspective, we need to keep in mind 2 points. Number one, transformation to basic to large scale socioeconomic change has to be examined looking at socio-psychic difficulties faced by people in the process of switch. Technology can come in, but if the people are not oriented, or if the people are not kind of trained or are not educated, then one cannot opt for these, and there can be n number of example even from India where the technology is there, but there is a large amount of apprehension because of the social cultural setting, and therefore the adaptation of that technology becomes problematic. The second issue that we need to keep in mind when we look into the post-industrial society is to keep in mind the policy perspective of national security. And technology, if we look into, has been kind of used by a large scale, for defense for purposes. So, we have to be very careful in terms of trying to understand or evaluate the post-industrial society from national security purpose, especially for war, defense, international relation, and we look at the ramification, and we need to kind of assess that are we actually in need of such high technical industry or high technical technology which could have only beneficial for defense and war purpose and could have a very negative repercussion on social and human life. So, it has to be more critical assessment of the use of technology. So, when we look into the idea of post-industrial society, another term which has been used along with post-industrial society is information society. So, information society is a society where the majority of employee work in information job. So, we know that most of the job that we have in the modern capitalist economy are related to say computer. So, everything even say for instance everything is information based. So, earlier when we had this traffic police, it could be the manual show of hand. We now have people working with in terms of the managing the signals. So, symbols and images, everywhere we go we are full of information, and therefore, we have to be kind of equipped to understand these symbols. All around us we have information in the forms of symbols and images. So, another term along with post-industrial society is information society. Radovan Richter argues that society has been transformed into scientific civilization based on services, education and creative activities. So every around we see that there is so much of focus on education, becoming creative, that it becomes a rational society. So every action that we perform has to have a scientific explanation. So we are more close to the knowledge society. All these terms are more or less synonymous: post-industrial society, information society, knowledge society, knowledge economy. But the transformation, especially in the information society, is a result of scientific technological transformation based on technological progress and increasing importance of computer technology. So today, earlier it was land, raw material which was required for production. Now what is required is knowledge, theoretical knowledge and technology. So many people say that earlier the gun was a weapon or a symbol of power. Now it is the data, information that you have becomes a symbol of the power of a society. Another concept along with information society is liquid modernity. So for Zygmunt Bauman, the idea of liquid modernity is increased feeling of uncertainty. So we are all uncertain what will happen next, what might happen next minute, next year. So there is so much of prediction, so much of forecasting, that we kind of were living almost in an uncertain and a privatization of ambivalence. It's a kind of a chaotic continuation of modernity, where a person can shift from one social position to another in a fluid manner. So it is kind of everything is in motion, every individuals are in motion, our work space is in motion. So we are almost living in a fluid society. So Bauman's concept of liquid modernity stressed on the burden that modernism placed on the individual. We know that with modernity there was a shift from collective community life to modern individuality. Now when this modernity went on kind of progressive, the society in terms of self reflection, reflexive behavior kind of becomes a self chosen one. So everything is centered around individual self, and we live in a self centered world. So another concept which has been also used along with post-industrial society is Peter Drucker's post-capitalist society. And in post-capitalist society, Peter Drucker talks about three kind of revolution. One is industrial revolution, knowledge which is kind of more of tools, process, industry, scientific knowledge. Then we have productivity revolution. So production was not only of goods, the production was in terms of knowledge, and therefore different kinds of service sector emerged. The third was management revolution. It had to be kind of how knowledge was managed, how knowledge could be managed in order to be applied for more and more of growth and development. Now, very similar term which is also very relevant in terms of understanding modernity and postmodern society is Manuel Castells' thesis of network society. Manuel Castells' work, Network Society, talks about information. He talks about information technology, that because of information society, everybody becomes connected into a network, and that network helps individual to kind of acquire the necessities of life. So he actually takes Daniel Bell's theory of post-industrial society a step further, and he says that the emerging society is built on network logic made possible by advance of information technology. So Daniel Bell tells that technology is a unifying force. Castells says that technology helps to create a network in society. So the central position of information in production, and it replaces land, natural resources. So land is no longer the modes of production. What becomes the mode of production is the centers where knowledge is being produced, where information is being employed. So ICT centers becomes important, and So, we see a shift, land in the pre-industrial society, capital in industrial society, and knowledge in post-industrial society. So, that is how the society kind of progress. We have another term which is information in cybernetics. Cybernetic is also talks about the relevance of networking through information, through technology, and we are kind of all in terms of kind of adjusting to the environment, to our well-being, are living in terms of the network and cybernetics. To live effectively is to live with adequate information. Rather, today without information it is difficult to survive. So, communication and control becomes the essence of man's inner life, even as they belong to life in society. So, these are some of the concepts which actually talks about social transformation and the fact that social change is not constant. It kind of goes, there is no end. After industrialization, there could not be kind of a society. Change will continue, and then we have this post-industrial society. So, in next lecture, we will kind of look into the concept of information society in detail. For reference, we need to look into these work. Daniel Bell, The Coming of Post-Industrial Society, published by HarperCollins in 1974. Amitai Etzioni and Jarkozy work, The False Choice, is a critique of Daniel Bell's work. So, the false choice between high technology and basic industry is the title of the paper, published in 1990. And a very important work is by Krishna Kumar, From Post-Industrial Society to Post-Modern Society, New Theories of Contemporary World. This is a very important reading which was published by Blackwell Publishers in 2005. If we read this book, we will be able to understand the concept of post-industrial society, its reassessment, and the relevance of post-industrial society. With this, I come to an end of today's lecture. Thank you.